Hello, Erica. Bye, Erica. I guess you left already. No name. Welcome. Hello. Just getting started. 6 o'clock is the official start time of this live, but we're getting started early like I normally do. Thanks for saying hi. Last person came in and left so fast I didn't even get time to say hi really to them. So if you have anything on your mind while you're by yourself, fire something away. Otherwise, we'll get going here. Tennessee, 7:52. It's 5:52 or 53 here on the West Coast. Welcome, Stella. Regular, thank you. Wolf, welcome. Lori, I think I recognize that name. Devries, as well. Thank you for coming in. Desert Eyes, welcome. A regular as well. So, just kind of hanging out for about 6-7 minutes before getting officially at the top of the hour, although we're certainly welcome to talk about things now. Thanks for the gifts, thanks for the likes, helping us get some attention. By the way, tonight's topic that I kind of was going to center on was the P. Diddy special that came out on TikTok, on Peacock. And then I realized there is no way on TikTok to talk about the P. Diddy case without saying all the words that get you auto-banned. In fact, I'm pretty certain my partner and I have found that we are being shadow banned by TikTok right now. And we're not sure what to do with it. We're extremely discouraged. Shadow banning is one of the worst things ever because you don't know what you're shadow banned for. You don't know how long you're going to be shadow banned for. You can't prove you're shadow banned. You just assume that nobody seems to resonate with your stuff. But I have good reason to believe that we are absolutely being shadow banned right now. And because they won't tell us why we're being shadow banned, we can't correct any bad behavior. And because we don't know for sure that we're shadow banned, we don't know how long it's going to last. So some people say sometimes it lasts as short as 24 hours. Some people say it lasts 2 weeks. Some people say you have to stop posting for about a week for it to unstick. So I don't know if I just have to go dark now for a while. But again, since it's not transparent and they won't let you know that you are being shadow banned, this is a discussion that we can't have with TikTok, and it's making my partner and I extremely frustrated because of all the things that we can't say and all the stupid words we have to say to try to get around content filters. And we're getting more and more frustrated. We are checking out by the way, Clapper right now, which Clapper is definitely more free speech. I talked to a person who's been over there for quite a while on Clapper, and they said that none of the words that I'm afraid of saying will get me in trouble at Clapper because it's way more free speech. And so I have no concern whatsoever of getting shadow banned over there by saying the things that I will get shadow banned here for. So I don't know what to do with that. Again, Clapper hasn't built the size up yet. It doesn't seem to be active, and it's a very different community in a lot of ways. It looks identical to TikTok, but it acts community-wise a lot different. The rules of engagement seem to be a little different. There is adult content on that site. I hope that doesn't get me banned here. Again, I can't even say certain words on TikTok, which is leading to our need to go somewhere else eventually. I would love TikTok to stay around. I heard some news today that Trump is considering using an executive order to keep TikTok from being shut down on the 20th, which technically the law goes into effect on the 19th. I also heard rumor that the Supreme Court was supposed to issue statements. They issue statements typically once a week, and today was the day that they were supposed to issue statements, but from all I've seen, they have not issued a statement, which means that they're going to go another week, I guess, silent, which means the ban effect is going to go into place without them formally making a decision or commenting on it, I guess, unless they do something special. And again, I don't know. That's what I heard. They just tend to make comments once a week. Thanks again, by the way, Desert Eyes, for giving us all the love and all the attention. That really helps out a lot. Unfortunately, it comes at a bad night in the sense that I was going to talk, or I am going to talk about the P. Diddy special, but I realized that the things that he's charged with and the allegations that are against him are words that I can't say on TikTok, and I have to be careful because I think it's silly that I have to say words that everyone knows the abbreviation to use instead. How is that not picked up by the filters? If they're really concerned about it, how come they're not blocking those things as well? Yeah, I'm thinking TikTok's not going away as well. I agree. I don't think it's going away as well. But it still leaves us with a major limitation, which is, again, shadow banning, which is a process that all these social media companies like to use now, where they just punish you behind the scenes and you don't know you're being punished. And the worst part about that is it leads you to believe that nobody gives a shit about what you have to say, when it might not be that at all. It might be that just nobody's allowed to hear what you have to say. And there's a big difference. And so you feel isolated if you're thinking, wow, am I the only person who thinks this? Because whenever I talk about this, nobody wants to talk about it. Well, it's not that nobody wants to talk about it, it's just that TikTok's not going to allow us to talk about it. Different platforms are not going to allow us to talk about it. So it's very frustrating for me, because we're trying to find a place where freedom of speech is truly valued. And that's hard to do. We are working on possibly doing, but again, I don't expect anybody wants to move, right? People aren't going to follow us just so they can have freedom of speech. But we are looking at open source streaming. We are looking at possible Discord to be able to have open conversations. YouTube is a little less restrictive, so maybe YouTube Lives, which we're apparently opening up now. According to YouTube's rules, we have the ability to go live on YouTube now. So we're looking for a home to do lives where I can talk about things like P. Diddy's special on Peacock. Again, isn't it ironic that all over the news today was reports from mainstream media news sources about something that happened in the court today with P. Diddy and the freak off videos. And those mainstream media news sources like ABC News, Forbes magazine, Washington Post, they're all allowed to talk about it. But if I use the same exact words that the news agencies are using, I will get flagged here, and that'll be the end of that discussion. So I can't talk freely about the news, which I think is asinine. But we'll do our best. We'll do our best to talk about it. I am curious, as we get towards the top of the hour, if anybody in here happened to watch the Peacock special on Diddy. PeerTube might be interesting for streaming. I will look into PeerTube. Thank you very much. We're looking at several things. There's a Open Meeting, which is an open source streaming service. I can self-host it. I can we've got the ability to host a server and have a server. But again, I don't think people will go to us if we set up something off-site. So it's we have to go where the people are at rather than the people come to us. So that's the frustrating part. And the best I can do, I guess, is try to play by the rules of TikTok as much as possible while telling people where we are at other places if you want to have a freer conversation. So that's the difficulty right now. Is I feel it's disrespectful to come onto TikTok's platform and tell people, if you want to hear us talk about all the things we can't talk about on TikTok, you're going to have to go to some other service, right? And it feels like it's disrespectful to. I have heard of Blue Sky, by the way. Blue Sky didn't look like a good option for us, by the way, because Blue Sky is more Twitter-like, not really video content. You can attach videos to a text post, but it's very, very Twitter-like. So it's just quick, short, brief texts. You can attach a video, and if somebody decides that they like what you said in a text, they can click on your video. But it's not like TikTok, where you just get Red Note. Not a good option, in my opinion. I don't want to disrespect anybody. I think that the Americans have made a point with Red Note, but Red Note is a Chinese-owned company. By the way, people have been reporting all over TikTok that they're getting kicked off of Red Note because if they have any positive LGBTQ stands or something like that, or if they talk anything about certain races, whatever, they get kicked off because they don't have the same kind of feelings about Americans and our views on those things. And so people are like, oh, it's so funny, we're giving America the finger by going to China. Oh, China just kicked me off because I talked about gay or trans rights, and I'm kicked off the platform and can't talk to them anymore. So it's not the place to go. It's a Chinese company that's going to get shut down too. If this ban holds for TikTok, it will apply to Red Note. So our content provider is going to spend a bunch of time building up a new following on Red Note just to get shut down eventually anyways. And again, you can't even show cleavage, I understand, on Red Note. Like we're not even talking adult content. We're just saying that, the typical way a lot of people present themselves wouldn't be allowed. What's up, Alex? Thanks for dropping in. So anyway, so that's where we're at right now. Like I said, I would love to talk about the P. Diddy special. I watched it yesterday on Peacock, and it's funny. I I almost didn't watch the Peacock special because I read the pre-review, the press releases, which said that it was a garbage documentary that was rushed to print to capitalize on the P. Diddy situation. I found it to be going that way for the first 20 minutes or so. I was like, this is not good. This is not a good documentary. And the last hour and 10 minutes or so, because it's like about an hour and a half, was amazing in my opinion. They covered a lot of really, really big points, a lot of really crazy stuff, and stuff that I knew about. They didn't cover it even to the level that I have been researching it, but they at least hinted at it and let people know just how big it is, if they hadn't already figured out how big it is. So the Peacock special was awesome in my opinion once you got past that first 20 or 30 minutes. It was disappointing at first, the Peacock special, because it almost sounded like they were taking the tact of, so maybe P. Diddy's a bad guy, but you have to understand it's not his fault. He was created that way because of his childhood. And it was like a big kind of like excuse piece. Like maybe he's done some bad things, but you have to understand his father was murdered, his father was a mobster, his mother was promiscuous and had parties in her house every Saturday night with multiple men that came and went, and the kids all got to watch all kinds of adult things, and that was just Saturday night at the Diddy house, you know, at the Combs house. And so because of that, he didn't have a choice. He became what he, and also they kind of hinted that he was picked on a little bit as a young kid, that he was kind of nerdy, he was wimpy, he got beat up, he got harassed, those kind of things were hinted about. And so he was a victim for a while, and at some point he shifted his mentality and he reinvented himself, and he became puffy, and he became all the different ways that he's reinvented himself over the years. And they basically called him a mastermind because he basically reinvented himself and became the abuser instead of the one who's abused. And it was almost like an apologetic, like, so he abuses people, but you have to understand he was abused as a child himself. And as I said in a video I made earlier, I give zero shits about why or how a monster was created. It's interesting from a conversation piece how a monster is created, but it doesn't excuse the monster. So that's the thing. We can't use the fact that a monster was created by another monster to excuse the monster. A monster is a monster. Now, again, the irony is when we're talking about Luigi Mangione, I say things like allegedly. We don't know that he's done it. And the same basic concept goes for Diddy. Allegedly, he's done all these things. What I can say about that, there's a big difference in my opinion between what allegedly P. Diddy did and what allegedly that Mangione did. There are over 30 people who have come forward with allegations and lawsuits against Diddy, and they are all very, very similar in what they have to say. The industry is turning on him. People are trying to flock away from him because they're terrified about what he's got on them, the tapes that he has on them. It's obvious it's much bigger than the people say. So while I agree there's a presumption of innocence on his part, it looks super, super unlikely that Diddy is not what he's being portrayed to be. So it's one of those things. Yes, he has a right to his day in court. He's being judged in the court of public opinion right now. I think the public opinion is that he has been an unchecked monster for a very long time. Whether the courts find him guilty in a court of law is going to be another thing, but he is being tried in the court of public opinion. So, did anybody here watch that P. Diddy special other than me, the Peacock special? I realize that in order to have Peacock, you have to have a streaming service, and you have to pay for Peacock specifically. Did anybody here, I'm just checking to see if anybody puts in a note that you actually watched the Making of a Monster video on Diddy. Did anybody see that? And does anybody care for a more formal review of my assessment of that video, or you just want to hang out and do general questions and answers? Because I got about an hour that'll do this. You watched it and it was good? Yes. Very cool. And content hasn't seen it, wasn't able to see it. Okay. Tell you more. Okay. So some of the biggest things that I think that really came out on that video was how many people were involved in suspicious murders or deaths, I should say. That are around P. Diddy. They covered Kim Porter, of course. Kim Porter being his longtime girlfriend, mother of 4 of his kids. They really told an interesting story when Al B. Sure was with Kim Porter and had a child by Kim Porter. and then along came Diddy, and Diddy decided instantly that he wanted Kim Porter for himself, and he pursued her openly right in front of Al B. Sure and everyone who worked at his company, and pursued her romantically and otherwise, and took her essentially away from Al B. Sure. Now, granted, you can't take a human being from another human being; she's not his property or whatever. But the point being is that she did indeed end up with Diddy. Their son never renamed his last name, still has the same last name as his father. But Al B. Sure indicated that he was threatened on multiple occasions to stay away from their relationship, that he's done with her, and that he needs to stay away or he's going to get himself killed. He had a moment in which he indicated that he was in a coma, a medically induced coma that he believes Diddy was involved in and barely survived, and that he's going to go after Diddy to get retribution. They talked about several people that had mysterious deaths. Kim Porter herself, who got pneumonia, lumbar pneumonia, and died mysteriously when it was alleged that she had a diary that she was planning on publishing. There are now, the family says that's not true, that she was never planning on publishing this book, but there was a diary that she was keeping of Diddy's alleged things that she had witnessed, and there is rumors in the video made that she was silenced to keep that from coming out. Again, there's stuff that came out in the show that didn't cover the stuff I have researched. For example, Tupac's murder. When Tupac was murdered, at the time, Tupac was the major artist of Bad Boy Records' major competitor, right? And so Tupac was gunned down, and then Biggie, Notorious B.I.G., was Diddy's main guy, same basic age, and then he was gunned down. Some argue that it was a retaliation. You Diddy, and your record company killed Tupac, so we're going to take out your guy as a retaliation, a tit for tat kind of thing. There was allegations made in the show that Diddy had something to do with even the killing of his own guy. I'm not sure about that. But what they didn't cover in the documentary, what I thought was surprising, that I had researched, and I need to go back and double check my sources, was that the FBI was investigating P. Diddy for the murder of Tupac. And that it turned out that it seemed that allegedly Diddy had hired a hitman to take out Tupac, and that the hitman was a former or current gaslighting LA police officer, and that that hit went through. However, the money that P. Diddy paid, which was like $1 million, I think they said, was going from a courier's hand to the hitman. The courier took off with the money, and so the hitman never got the money, and the FBI ended up having to drop the case because they couldn't track the money from Diddy to the hitman, and so they lost it in transit because somebody took off with the money. That's what I had read in my research, that the FBI had been investigating it for quite some time and had to drop the case because they couldn't follow the money trail. And they didn't really cover that in the show. They just covered that, you know, Tupac was murdered and Biggie was Notorious B.I.G. was murdered, and that maybe Diddy had something to do with it. People around him were real hush hush and indicating that he had something to do with it. I also thought it was interesting. One of the main guys they interviewed in the show, was it Tracy, I think it was his name, was a friend of Diddy's who grew up with him, and he basically made a whole bunch of argument the whole show long that what you see, the Puff Diddy, that is not the Sean Combs that he knew. That's not the guy he grew up with. He's a whole different thing now. He was terrified of Diddy, and basically at one point in the show, I thought it was interesting. Do I believe that he did something to his wife, Kim? I do, yes. I do believe that I tend to believe Diddy had his wife taken, or, you know, had Kim Porter taken out. That's my gut reaction. Can I prove it? He allegedly did it. We don't know. All those things. But actually, he's not on trial for that. He's not accused of that. That was listed by the coroner as pneumonia. But anyways, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so the guy that was his good friend, basically, it was funny. They had two guys that were contrasted that knew Diddy really well. One guy said, "Hey, look, I got a family. My dad died. My son died. Too many people have died around me, and I have chosen that there's two ways to deal with Diddy. It's fight or flight, and I chose flight. He basically admitted, I'm hiding from Diddy. I'm not going to say shit about Diddy. I'm not going to make him angry because I'm choosing to run from Diddy. Like I'm not going to stick myself in the limelight. He's hiding all his record things that he did. He was a promoter in the record industry, and he was proud of that. But now he hides it behind a bathroom wall in his house where nobody can even see it because he's afraid of Diddy's wrath. And so he basically chose to basically flight. They asked another guy who was a bodyguard, longtime associate with Diddy, why isn't he afraid? And he just laughed. Like basically, he was like, "Screw Diddy. Let him come after me. I've lived a long life. I don't care anymore. I'm gonna tell it like it is. I'm going after him." So there was two different ways of dealing with the Diddy situation. You know, you either run from him because you're terrified. Most people are terrified of him, or you say like Al B. Sure and the bodyguard. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name right now. Are like they're going after him and saying, "I'll tell all." Right? But whether they can get it to stick or not, it's amazing because, you know, Diddy's attorneys are continuing to say over and over again about how all of this is horrible, bad press, and it's just it's making their guy look bad, and there's no basis to it whatsoever. In fact, the freak off videos came up today. I believe the prosecution was forced to show the 9 alleged victims or the 9 videos of the freak off videos, and the statement that was made, that again I have to be careful saying because I can't say it on TikTok without potentially raising a flag, was that it was clear, the defense's position is it's clear from the video that one of the females in the freak off video clearly is enjoying herself. And so therefore it is nothing more than puritanical FBI agents who have this stigma against the S word. God, man, I hate that. That they're going after our guy because consenting adults want to have a little fun, and that's all it was. And anybody who watches that video can clearly see that the woman who they're calling victim number 1 is clearly enjoying herself. Now, what they're not pointing out, and again, I have to be super careful talking about it in my live, is that the allegations are that Diddy used chemicals to ply people into doing things to make them so that they are more compliant. So if that's the case, it doesn't matter what it looks like on camera, you know? Secondly, it leads to that whole difficult situation. Again, this is a very adult conversation that we have to be careful. It leads to that whole conversation of people who blame victims of certain types of assault if there's any indication that their body responded positively. You see, I have to be careful about how I say things. So if your body responds positively, therefore you must have wanted it. And so it doesn't matter if it was forced on you or not. If your body responded in any kind of way that could be perceived as enjoying it, then it was consensual. And everyone who goes through certain types of assaults has to have their character questioned like that. Well, if it was so bad, why did you respond physiologically to it in a positive way? It must not have been that bad. So therefore, you must have actually wanted that. It's horrendous, and that's essentially what the prosecute or the defense is saying, that this person clearly is enjoying themselves, and that may be the case. It may even be the case that they did it consensually. We don't know, but the allegations against Diddy are coercing people, threatening people with violence and death if they don't do the things that he wants them to do. Telling them that he's going to share them with his buddies and that they can't do anything about it, offering or coercing them into careers. If you want to go somewhere in this industry, you'll do the things that I ask you to do. This is how you do it in the business. This is how you make yourself a star. If you want to be a star, you're just going to have a night where you do some things for us, and then we'll do some things for you and make your career, right? So if a person does that and then they go through the actions of making it appear that they really enjoy what they're doing, are they still consensual? Or is there a fear or a coercion that's going on? And it's so difficult for us to have this conversation because, again, I have to dance around the words that the news is allowed to say. You know, the news is allowed to say the word behind SA, and I think it's stupid. Like, TikTok knows what SA means. They know what people use SA for. Why would I have to say that? Why can't they just say the words? And yet if I say the words, I bet you it's about 30 seconds away that I'll get a notice on the top of my screen saying that my live has been restricted due to sensitive content. And it's just bots picking up on words. Or somebody in here gets offended that I'm talking about something that's of an adult nature. Now there's the other difficulty. When I was talking about moving to Clapper, Clapper is a 18 and over type of app, and it has age verification steps in it. TikTok is not that way. So there is content that's not suitable for youngsters. In fact, I probably should have flagged this. I didn't do it. I probably should have flagged this particular live as having a restriction on it for 18 and over. I didn't do that. My mistake. I'm going to be very careful about how I talk about this, so maybe we won't get in trouble for it. Hopefully nobody will report it. Stella, by the way, thank you so much for all the likes while I'm talking. I really appreciate that. It helps a lot. So anyways, so they talked about probably about 4 different people who mysteriously died during the era with Diddy, people who were claiming to come forward or wanting to come forward or threatening to come forward, who mysteriously died of various things, heart attacks, pneumonia, unexpected things at relatively young ages, that just so happened to be on Diddy's bad list. And in fact, they've got recorded messages and witnesses who say that Diddy frequently threatened people to take them out if they didn't play ball, if they shamed him or embarrassed him in some way. So this just seems to be the common MO that those who ran in his circles say they did. Now here's the thing that why I say this is a huge issue and the reason why I want to cover it on TikTok, but again, I don't know how I cover it on TikTok. So I may be trying to move these kind of discussions off TikTok to where I can talk more freely and not have to play games with it. But it's the industry that top to bottom has people who are trying to hide themselves. Justin Bieber was courted by Diddy when he was like 13. He was given I think a Lamborghini by Diddy. And they even have a video that is well seen on the internet where Diddy brags to a young 13-year-old Justin Bieber that Justin's being introduced to things that we can't talk about. We can't tell you what we're doing, but trust me, it's something that a boy of his age is having the time of his life. Usher, being a young boy, of the same basic age, 13 to 15 range, was living in Diddy's house with him. There was a video on the internet, and I have it on my timeline, of which it's recalled how Diddy was a young boy who was laying with Diddy in his room, waking up in the morning and then wrestling before eating breakfast. That video has been pulled off the internet. I'm so pissed off, it's not even funny. Like, I've got a link to the video has been pulled. What am I supposed to do with that? If you're going to cover up what's happened, again, well, it's sensitive. We can't talk about that. Well, it's public domain stuff. It's out there. So I don't know what to do with that. And how do I talk about it? How do I talk about all the people who have come forward now against Diddy who are under a certain age? Because talking about that is a violation. Even if I don't mention their names, it's a big no-no red flag. So I don't know how I've gotten so far into this show. I'm 20 minutes now, and I haven't gotten myself a content violation. Thank you, everyone, by the way, who is hanging out with me and hasn't reported me. I'm just trying to talk about the news. I'm trying to talk about the documentary. I'm trying to do it in a respectful manner. So it counts on you to not report me for inappropriate information, and it counts on me to be able to talk a certain way to try to avoid the flags and the Autobots and all that stuff that's going on. Usher stayed 1 year over at Diddy's, I think. That may be right. I can't remember how long he stayed with Diddy. There was allegations of basically grooming his career, his making sure that he would become a star in exchange for being... And Diddy, that's another video that is still available on the internet. Diddy talks about to Howard Stern. I think he was on the Howard Stern show, and he was being asked about this at the time that he spent with Diddy. And he admitted that he saw stuff at... This is what he said. I saw, I mean, not exact words, but Usher said, I saw things as a young man that I couldn't comprehend was even happening. My young mind couldn't even comprehend what was happening. And I think he was asked, Usher, would you let your own children go to a Diddy party? And he's like, hell no. Hell no. Now, the thing is that there's a lot of big names in the industry who are tied to Diddy and have been involved with Diddy since their young career. what was Carter's name? The young blonde kid that was a lot like Diddy. The one that committed suicide not too long ago. Why am I? I'm just blanking on his name. He was. They got pictures of him and Diddy when he was a very young boy. And again, I saw another video where an actress, young actress, I think she was 12, Aaron Carter, thank you. Aaron Carter. Pictures of Diddy. I got that on my timeline. It's on my timeline right now. A young Aaron Carter with Diddy when he was probably 13, maybe. And that's not necessarily a crime, right? Until you start factoring in all the allegations that are coming about the inappropriate stuff that was happening and the things that these young boys and young girls were seeing and witnessing. Because it's just part of the lifestyle. You have to understand, they're in a different world. This would be Diddy's argument. You have to understand, they're in a different world. They're not normal. Ali Carter is another big name all over. You can see all kinds of stuff on. She used to be on TikTok heavily. There was a young actress who was 12 that there's a video of Diddy asking her in a very creepy manner if she's going to be at his party afterwards, the after party. And she's like, and she gave him I find a very adult look and nod that she would be there, and he gets all excited like, yeah, because you know what it's implying, and she's way too young for that, way too young. But that's how the business works. That's what he would say. That's how the business works. You want to get up into business, you're gonna have to take one for the team. This kind of stuff's been going. This is what they call Hollywood's worst kept secret. Everyone in Hollywood knows this has been going on. They've been covering for him for forever. There are politicians. There are pastors, preachers in ministry who have been part of Diddy's parties. There are A-listers up and down the the gamut. Will Smith. Oh, I've been restricted. There's my restriction. Let's see what they got me for. Your live contains themes that are may be uncomfortable and has been restricted. Violates our community guidelines. This is why I don't think we can stay on TikTok long term, because we are not allowed to talk. So right now you're in a privileged group of 17 people, and you're maybe the only people who are going to get to say it. At least they won't kick you out. They're not shutting my live off, but they're not going to show it and promote it to more people. They did talk about Jay-Z. No, they didn't. I don't think they did talk about Jay-Z. I don't think they talked about Jay-Z or Beyonce. They didn't talk about that, I don't think. If they did, it was in passing. It wasn't really the focus of the show. I don't think. I'm trying to remember, because I watched 2 specials on Diddy before that, and I don't even remember them talking about Jay-Z much. I remember I think Jay-Z came up in one of the ABC specials, which, by the way, the ABC specials were kind of garbage. They apparently did a bunch of filming with the same people and then broke it into 3 documentaries. So every time you see the documentary, you see the same people in the same room, in the same clothes, just doing more of the interview. And they call it 3 different documentaries. Like, it was 2020 that did it, another one that was like a Nightline special or whatever, and it was the same people and they apparently did it all in one job and then broke it into multiple shows. So you guys were here to witness my restriction, which means, again, that we're going to continue to get shadow banned and probably go nowhere on this thing. I've been told, and Jaguar Wright was on the show briefly, extremely briefly, but they did have Jaguar on there. She said a few words. It wasn't as nearly as much as what she says if you watch her on the internet or watch her TikTok videos and stuff like that. But she was on the show. Yes, Stella. So anyways, so I've been restricted, like I said, and we know that we're being restricted I believe that we're being restricted on our videos as well, everything we post, because what I have seen the last few days, and again, this sounds a little egotistical because it suggests that, oh, well, if we're not growing, we must be shadow banned. It can't be that I just am not resonating with people. But we've been at 4,600 followers for the longest time. In fact, we lose more followers than we gain. I struggled at 4,598 for the longest time. I got 98, then it dropped down to 90, or went to 99, it dropped down to 98. Went up to 99 again, dropped down to 90. I hit 603 this morning and it dropped back down to 600. So we're losing people as fast as we're gaining them, which is not common. I've seen from other accounts. On top of that, the last 2 videos that we put out skyrocketed with 300 and something views in the first 10 to 15 minutes and then died. And then 3 hours later, all it did have was another 100 views. So it went to 400 views over 3 hours when it came out the gate getting 300 views in 15 minutes. So I know what's happening is, I can figure it out, right? Is that they've got a tier system, and I'm not getting past tier 1. So they're letting my video come out hot and heavy on tier 1, but instead of promoting me and when I hit that 500 mark in a certain amount of time, they're not letting it go there, so I don't get pushed to tier 2 and I can't go out to a bigger audience. Again, maybe I'm being arrogant by saying that, oh, well, our videos should be bigger than that, but I've been told that by other people as well. They're like, in fact, somebody came on and told me that one of my videos blew up the other night and all kinds of people, like thousands of people had been commenting on it, and I saw none of them. I don't know if that's true, but I had a user tell me that. She's like, oh my God, your video was blowing up and yet your numbers aren't changing. So they're suppressing you somehow. And I do believe that's possible. So where do we go with that? Again, in a world of shadow banning, I can't talk about the current news. I hope that all of you who are here and listen to me have realized I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not going to be going to Red Note, Stella. I think Red Note's doomed to fail. As far as Americans go, people are already getting kicked off of Red Note and having their accounts banned because they talk about issues that are not agreeable to the Chinese government. They're already being, and again, if TikTok's being shut down because of its connections to a Chinese company, Red Note is no different. And so it was a funny FU to the government for a while by having Red Note be the #1 downloaded, if that was true, the #1 downloaded app on the App Store. That's funny. It was a humorous thing, but I feel bad for content providers, in my opinion, who are going to spend time trying to build a following on Red Note because it's not going to last. They're going to get kicked off if they talk to American. One guy claimed that he got his account shut down and banned because he mentioned an American company, and they didn't like him promoting an American company. Waffle House, I think it was. He mentioned Waffle House, and he claims his account was permanently banned because he advertised an American business. So people are going to be in for a rude awakening if they think that Red Note's where they're going to go have freedom of speech. In my opinion, I mean, all kinds of people are saying, hey, they have a thing against, different gender issues that are acceptable in the United States. Not so in China. So it's just not the place for us. Clapper has seemed to be, thanks to Desert Eyes, who was in here. I don't know if she's still here, but she turned us on to Clapper, and Clapper seems to be a really good potential for us. Clapper is adult-oriented in the sense that you have to be 18 and older. At least you have to agree to that at first. There is an age verification process that I haven't had to prove yet, but there is an age verification process. The drawback to Clapper has been there are people who say that there is the wrong kind of adult entertainment on Clapper because they allow it to some extent. They don't allow. I can't even tell you what they do allow versus what they don't allow because it's so restrictive here at TikTok that I can't even talk about that. But they do allow some things, and so there are people over there that apparently go live and basically turn Clapper, it seems like they're trying to turn Clapper into an OnlyFans account where you can have a paid subscription to see more. But it's not all like that, and we believe that Clapper has a bigger avenue of freedom of speech. I specifically talked to a guy at Clapper who had been there for quite a while, and I told him about how I was going to do this live and how I can't say words about the certain type of assault that P. Diddy's accused of because you can't say those words here. And he said, you can say those words at Clapper all day long and nobody's going to do anything to you. You're not going to be restricted. Lemonade is also owned by ByteDance, by the way, La La Love. So Lemonade, again, in my opinion, is not a solution. It's a Chinese company. It's owned by ByteDance, the same company that owns TikTok. It's going to fall under the same exact law as TikTok. So while and it's interesting, however, that TikTok has made this tight integration between it and Lemonade, where automatically all of your videos can be ported over to Lemonade, as if they are expecting us to go to Lemonade as the backup option. But again, Lemonade is owned by ByteDance. It's going to fall under the same exact law. So if they go after TikTok, they're probably also simultaneously going to shut down Lemonade, or maybe it'll lag behind a month or two, but it'll be going away as well, in my opinion. So Lemonade's not the solution. Red Note's not the solution, in my opinion. They're both Chinese, or they're Chinese companies. Those are not the solutions on where to go. So again, Clapper is a U.S.-based company. It's a freedom of speech platform. They believe in basically that freedom of speech element, which is why they have the age restriction, which is why it's more for adults, because if you have a bunch of adults saying anything that they feel like, It's not necessarily going to be suitable for children. So that's probably where we're going to try to go. We're also working on our YouTube channel, which YouTube is unlocked, or supposedly has unlocked our ability to go live, although I can't quite do it because they're telling me that I haven't verified my phone number, which I can't seem to verify with them. So while I have the minimum number of subscribers on YouTube, you need 50. I had 60 last I looked, so we had 60 subscribers. We can go live technically by the rules of YouTube, but we have to have a verified phone number on file. And for some reason, I'm having problems with them verifying my phone number. So once we get that issue unlocked, we'll be able to go live on YouTube. I suspect that everything I wanted to say tonight, I could have said on YouTube, and I wouldn't get restricted like I was tonight. So this is the problem that we have. Again, I love TikTok. I don't want to leave TikTok. I'd like to stay here, but it seems obvious to me that our content is being suppressed. We're not allowed to grow past a certain size. We're never going to have a viral video because they just simply have turned off the ability for us to go viral, and because they won't tell us or show us how long that ban is in effect, we don't know. And on top of that, it may never be lifted because if they have a problem with one of our videos that they haven't told us about on our profile, that video won't be going away because they won't tell us which one it is. I might pull it if they tell me, hey, this is the video that's making you get banned. Pull that video and we'll unlock you. But they're not going to have that conversation with me. So I have to play a guessing game. Worst freaking thing about shadow banning is guessing all the time what you did wrong and how you can fix it. And I don't want to police myself into, I just want to say everything perfect so that I don't ever get in trouble. I'll just go somewhere else, unfortunately. Do I think the U.S. people should boycott TikTok? It's really hard for me to say that, Stella, because I think that people have the right to protest any way they want to. And so if their protest is to stick with TikTok until the ship goes down, I think that's great. Boycotting TikTok is, of course, not going to fix the problem. The problem is that the U.S. government wants to take TikTok away. So it's not TikTok's problem per se. It is TikTok's problem with the freedom of speech issue and the banning and stuff like that, but that's a whole different issue. Right now, the issue is whether or not we're even allowed to have TikTok. And I don't think that banning it right now or going after TikTok is the solution, because the real battle right now is the U.S. government versus TikTok and the American public, in my opinion, about their exercise of free speech. Facebook and Instagram, all of these people are looking to profit on the collapse of TikTok in America. They want to be the next one. This is why Zuckerberg's trying to tout that he's going to be the place for free speech. And a lot of people just don't trust Zuckerberg, so that's probably not the place to go either. It's a crazy time in America because we're now seeing the erosion, or not that I shouldn't say we're not seeing it. We've been seeing it for a long time. The erosion of civil liberties and the erosion of freedom of speech. It gets worse every year, and this TikTok thing is a huge overreach. It's like the next step of how far can the government go to take away your freedom of speech. No longer is it true when people tell you as an American you have the right to criticize your own government, unless they want to go after that, and then they say, because one of the reasons why they claim that they want to shut down TikTok is because too many people are critical of the U.S. government on TikTok, and it could foment anger against the U.S. government. So basically they're saying everything they told us when I was growing up as a child is bullshit, that you don't have the right to criticize your own government because we'll just take that platform away from you. It's not safe for Americans to have a negative feeling about their government, so we'll just take those tools away from them. Just like they don't want us talking about Luigi Mangione in a positive manner because they don't want you railing against the inequality of the wealth and the corruption in the health insurance industry and the corruption in government businesses and corporate businesses. They don't want you talking about those things. So then they ban things like TikTok, so you can't have freedom of speech and talk and get angry about things. So I did review the P. Diddy thing up to the point that I got myself restricted. Like I said, we're being shadow banned, I'm pretty sure, so I don't know what to do with that. I don't know that. I wish there was a way that you guys could help me, but I don't know how you can. The only way I know that you can help me is by sharing my videos with people who haven't seen my channel that you think might be willing to join and follow me. If you can somehow get more people to follow us, our follower count goes up, then perpetuates the possibility that TikTok's like, hey, maybe we can make money off these people because they keep getting bigger. So, I don't know. If we're going to keep getting suppressed and we're going to lose people as fast as we gain them, then we're going to have to go someplace else. And I don't really want to go someplace else, but the number one pet peeve I have in life is shadow banning, where you don't even know where the problem is and how to fix it, because nobody will have the conversation with you. So again, if there's anything you guys can do to help, it would be great. Try to get some love out there for the content. Try to share the word that we have some good thoughts and some good lives, and that we're freedom of speech kind of champions. And if we go someplace else, maybe you can help follow us there as well. And Carol, thank you for the gifts and all those things. I really appreciate it. Anybody that I've missed who's been helping us out with likes and gifts, I really appreciate that. I got the hiccups all of a sudden after drinking soda. I talked a little bit about Red Note. I think Red Note is a Chinese company. It has less freedom of speech than TikTok even, and I think it's not going to be a good place for people to spend time, content providers trying to build a reputation there, because half the stuff Americans talk about will not be tolerated at Red Note, and it's going to get shut down just like TikTok, because the whole reason for shutting down TikTok is because the China connection and the Americans basically talking negatively about the U.S. government, which they're going to do even more on Red Note once TikTok gets shut down. So I don't see that happening. Sorry, Sailor Sue. Apparently you're irritated at me because I've been talking about being banned for 20 minutes. I apologize that you can always leave the room. I'm sorry that I've bothered you. I'll change topics if you like, but yeah, it's weighing on my mind. I'm sorry that has bugged you so much. I did a video about Saturnalia and had it doing weird things. It had lots of likes, but doesn't show. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can be restricted and not realize you're being restricted, and that's the hard part, because again, you can't fix what you don't know, which is probably driving Sue nuts that I'm talking about it still. So I'll try to not talk for a minute so that she can have a break. Or leave, whatever. And again, you don't have to leave. I'm just saying, if you don't like what I have to say, the best course of action is just an exit. Hopefully not a report. If you want to report me, I guess you have that right too, and we'll just not hang out here anymore. But hopefully, people will just vote with their scroll button, which is the best way. Any other questions about the Diddy special? Yeah, I've been pretty lucky about talking about Diddy and Luigi so far, in a way, other than we're not getting reach, but I haven't been banned or flagged or content violation warnings for that. I did tonight and it was, those restrictions aren't necessarily a flag. It's not a strike. It's a hey, your content may not be suitable for everyone, whatever that means. Which that could mean just that they don't think it's appropriate for under 18, and that's fair. I probably should have turned that on in the beginning anyways. So we're at 20 minutes to the top of the hour. I was only going to do this for about an hour. I want to give opportunity for us to maybe talk a little bit more about Diddy if we can without getting another restriction. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Did you watch the special? Did you have a different take than mine? Did you not hear my take because you just got here late? Give another chance here for 10, 15 minutes to talk about those things, and then we'll close up at the top of the hour. What did he special? I'm not sure how to interpret that exactly. You may have to retype that one or make sure that you clarified what you mean by that. What Diddy special? Oh, the Diddy special was the one that was released by Peacock yesterday called Diddy, the Making of a Bad Boy. It was an hour-and-a-half Peacock special that came out yesterday. I believe it's still available. I think it's, you can just search for it and play it if you have Peacock. If you don't have Peacock, I don't know if it's available other places, but you can get it on Peacock. If you don't have Peacock and you never have had Peacock, I think you can get a free trial and see it. There's another special by 50 Cent, which is, I don't know. I've heard two different names of that special. Netflix signed a special deal with them, so there is another special coming out from Netflix on P. Diddy. What were the two titles I heard? I heard two different titles on it. Yeah. Have you seen Kuchar step down from his company Thorn? No, they did have lots of pictures of Diddy and Ashton Kutcher in the Peacock special, by the way. They didn't really talk about it a whole lot, but they kept showing Kutcher with them a lot. Thorn. As a matter of fact, I think they mentioned Thorn. I think they mentioned Thorn in the special, just briefly. I don't think there was a huge focus on it. They did make an interesting special and a comment in this special that I really found surprising, and I didn't fact check them. So Diddy basically represented two liquor companies, Ciroc and some other liquor company, and they said that that's really where he made his big money, that he made more money on the liquor deals than he did in the record business. And that stunned me, because I'm like, everybody knows him as the big record mogul who made everybody's careers and controls people's careers, and they're like, he actually made the crap ton of money off the liquor deals. So I thought that was interesting. I think I saw 50 Cent has things to say, but I didn't see more. Yeah, that one still hasn't come out yet. I think that's the Netflix special. They signed a big amount of money for him to do that special, and I can't remember what he's going to have that's going to be different. I mean, everybody was rushing to be the one to put out their first Diddy special, right? And so the question is, will the other ones just be rehashing what's already been done now, or will it truly be something new? There was a lot of talk, in my opinion, in the Peacock special about never seen before footage. They had several recordings of Diddy kind of off camera but on camera. Like, he has a personal cameraman that follows him around a lot, and so they had some footage that people haven't seen on mainstream media. Now, that probably means that they had been on the internet, so I wouldn't say that's never been seen before, but maybe mainstream media hasn't covered it. They did talk, by the way, at the Diddy special about his reality TV show he had called Making the Band. One of the female members on the show was talking about him allegedly groping her and things like this of a nature. I guess we already got our restriction, so maybe that won't get us another restriction, who knows. But that was on there. There was the funny thing about Diddy wants some cheesecake, so at 3 a.m. he sends everybody in the reality show to go find him some cheesecake, and it doesn't matter that, of course, places aren't open. They better come back with some cheesecake because Diddy wants some cheesecake. Just kind of showing his power kind of thing. But the point being on that is it's a reality TV show, so it may have been more to do with reality TV than his ego, or who knows. I don't know. 50 Cent never went to a Diddy party, and now we all know why. Yeah, there were several people who claimed, and for those who aren't aware, so after parties are a common thing, right, in Hollywood, and then his was an after party. So they would have a party in which it ended a certain point, and there would be an after party in which that would end at a certain point, and then only certain people were invited to the after party where things really got freaky. And so a lot of A-listers were at his parties, even at his after parties, that weren't necessarily at the freak-offs, which was the after party, if you will. So we have to be careful and discerning as an American audience when we're talking about, well, so-and-so went to his party. That doesn't mean that so-and-so was involved in a freak-off. The freak-off name, which, by the way, they're saying is ridiculous. There is no such thing as a freak-off. But the point being is that whatever was allegedly dubbed, or why it was originally dubbed a freak-off, the point being is that was kind of the after party. And a lot of A-listers were sent home at the end of the after party and not part of the after party, if you will. So again, as citizens, we have to educate ourselves that every person who went to a P. Diddy party wasn't necessarily involved in the kind of stuff that is being alleged as happening. That was for a very select group of people who were after everybody else was kicked out and sent home. So there was a lot of famous people who were at his parties who admit they were at his party, but indicate that they were kicked out or they went home well before all the weird stuff started happening. Right after the party's over, where a lot of illegal activity happened. And again, I can't say that word, right, because I already got my restriction for the night. But yeah, so allegedly the after party, when most people went home and it was just a trusting select group of people that they feel they could trust with that information, got to see the freakiest stuff. And by freaky, I really mean illegal. So great comments and questions tonight. Sorry that I went on a rant about being shadow banned for so long. I wouldn't have probably not brought it up if it wasn't. Don't know about the satanic rituals. There was nothing in the show about rituals or Satanism at all in the show. They didn't bring it up. And in my research, which I've been doing for about 6 months, I haven't heard anything about satanic rituals or rituals per se of any kind. Illegal activity, yes, but of a religious nature, I have not heard that. So I don't know if there was that or not. I haven't seen it yet in my research. Do you think the list will be shared soon or not? I think it's going to be a Jeffrey Epstein thing. We're never going to see that list. The list of who's on those lists are not going to be made public, just like Jeffrey Epstein's list has still not been made public. Ironically, it's the same kind of situation I think is going to happen here. Just as Jeffrey Epstein decided to take himself out, per the official story, before the trial, which ends the trial. that ends everything. So we don't have to have discovery, and we don't have to have things that come into court. We don't have to have things submitted into evidence, and we don't have to see them come out because the court case is over when he ended himself, which I don't believe he ended himself. That was somebody else's doing. And I think most Americans are smart enough to know that. But I suspect that this is going to be a similar situation with Diddy. I would not be shocked. I see that you sent me something, so thank you. I don't know what it was. I'll have to take a look at that later. But anyways, I suspect that there's a good possibility that if this ever gets to the point of going too far into court, and that Diddy may have himself an accident as well, or reach terrible depression, is that what will be sold to the American people. Terribly depressed at his besmirched reputation and can't deal with the fact that everybody's turned on him and decided to end it. And that will be the explanation. And sadly, a fair number of the population will just accept that and call everybody else conspiracy nuts, even though we all know what happened with Epstein, and we know what's going to happen with with Diddy if it goes that far. Jay-Z and Beyonce, there's so many huge names that are going to go down with the sinking ship. This is why I don't think Diddy is going to make it to court. Something's going to happen. The problem is how many times is the American public going to buy mysterious deaths and then no further information? How many times are they going to buy it? I would imagine, apparently, the government thinks that people are going to buy it forever. Always. Just deny, and say, man, shit happens. Shit happens. It's too bad we didn't get to see that trial, because it would have been interesting to see. But you know what? Shit happens. So, I got less than 10 minutes left of this evening. I want to thank everybody, by the way, for hanging out so long. We've had a lower night than others, but a steady night of 15, 16 people in a regular all night long. So that's been great. Some nights I've hit a peak of 80, but had an average of 20. Tonight we're a little lower at 14, 15, but it's just been steady. I see some regulars that keep coming back, so I appreciate that, and want to encourage you that if you like our content, the Devil's Advocates content, you like my content, you like my take on things, that you may need to start paying attention a little bit more to our website, devilsadvocates.info, so that you can find out where we're going next. We have a presence on Blue Sky with one post, but again, when I saw that it was too much Twitter-like, I'm not sure that's a place for us, but we do have a presence there. We have a Lemonade presence because it was just simply easy to connect to TikTok, but we haven't really started doing anything with that. What's happening to TikTok? Oh, Share Bear, you're a little behind it here. So TikTok is the Supreme Court has basically ruling on right now whether or not that they're going to uphold a law that basically is going to shut down TikTok in America. So on the 19th of January, TikTok is supposed to be illegal in America, and they're going to shut down the servers and make it so that you can't use TikTok anymore, go to TikTok, or have it in this country because of national security concerns. So the government says that it's a national security concern that a Chinese company has all this information about Americans, and so they want to shut it down. And the Supreme Court is heard arguments on whether or not they're going to change their mind about that or uphold the law. It looks like the Supreme Court is going to uphold that ban, so it should go into effect soon. When it does, the future of TikTok is really uncertain. Will TikTok win, though? Please give me some hope, please. Oh, So yeah, there's a good chance. There is a good chance that TikTok will survive. There's several outs for TikTok. Out number one is Trump supposedly already has stated that he will attempt to use an executive order to stop the banning of TikTok, at least temporarily, to let it be addressed. Out number two, there's a congressman who submitted legislation to extend the deadline from January 19th to another 270 days, as they call it, kicking the can down the road. Some people say Senator Marley, spoke about the extension. Markey. So he, but again, whether or not people are going to pass that or not, that's a whole other thing. It's just submitted legislation. So that's another potential out. There's also the third potential out, that TikTok is bluffing when they say that they won't sell to a U.S. company and that a U.S. company may buy it. I don't necessarily think that's exciting for Americans. I don't think that an American owner buying TikTok is going to be a great thing for America, but that's another out that would keep TikTok going. And then there's the fourth option, which is that the law passes that says that it's illegal to use TikTok, but that the government is not giving authority or enforcement powers to do anything about it. In other words, they won't actually prosecute it. It's kind of like there are laws in the books today that are still on the books, but we just don't enforce them anymore. So it is possible for the law to go into effect and just not be enforced. And then it leaves everybody in limbo. Any day they decide to enforce the law, they can enforce it. So we'll see. Well, unfortunately, I had hopes today that we were going to hear the ruling from the Supreme Court so that all of us can stop wondering what's going to happen and kind of prepare. But it looks like the Supreme Court, SCOTUS, did not come out with their opinions and rulings. So we wait more. Maybe we wait another week, which means that the ban will go into effect and they will officially have made a comment on it. So yes, it is possible. It is there's a lot of outs for TikTok to stay in existence, even after a ban, a law passing that bans its existence in the United States. It could still stay around. There are lots of outs still. All right. I want to thank you all again for the last time tonight. I'm going to wrap up here. I want to thank you all for watching my live, for supporting it with 5.7 thousand likes tonight. The steady stream of concurrent users that stayed here solid tonight. Thank you for listening to my review of P. Diddy. I did my best to make it through the full hour without getting a restriction, but I didn't make it. This furthers the likelihood that our account will continue to be banned or shadow banned. Oh my gosh, look, quit talking about being shadow banned. Anyways, so thank you all again and have a good evening.